What's the meaning of life? I've been thinking about that question for a little over 10 years now. From what I can remember, since I was 18 years old, in some way, shape, or form, I've thought about the meaning of life every single day. And at this point, for me, it's become so much more than just an interesting question. It's it's genuinely become the most defining aspect of my life. Almost everything I do, think, and pursue in my life now has been shaped by trying to find an answer to this question. And for a long time, I thought that once I found the answer, all of my problems in life would be solved. Everything would finally be simple. Everything would finally be okay. And funny enough, to some degree that's been true. But what I didn't expect was upon finding some answers or the answer, I guess you could say, um a whole bunch of challenges and responsibilities and even more questions came with it. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I can explain to you what the meaning of life is in just one video, right? But I do want to try to explain why this question matters to me so much. Maybe some of the things I've learned, and maybe even try to get you to find or think about an answer for yourself. So, first and foremost, why does this question even matter? Because from what I've seen, most people don't even take this question very seriously. Um, from what I've seen, some people do think about it, but stop because it's uncomfortable. Um, Other people accept or come up with some kind of answer, but never actually question it, never actually, prod it, never, you know, go much deeper than the surface, so to speak. And this really blows my mind. Some people never even think to ask the question at all. I guess they just kind of go through life, you know? And to some degree I get it. The question's heavy, it's dense, it is relatively uncomfortable to think about in some ways. Um and life's already pretty complex, you know? There's already life day-to-day life is already difficult, you know? W- It makes it difficult to even try to figure out an answer to the meaning of life when you already have so much on your plate, I guess. But the thing is, though, what I came to realize is whether you realize it or not, you're already living by some kind of answer to the question already. Because everything that you chase, everything you avoid, everything you seek, everything you give your time to, all of those things reveal what you believe life is actually about. If you give all of your time, energy, and focus and attention to money, comfort, pleasure, status, then whether you realize it or not, that shows what you believe the point of life is. Even if you've never like even if you've never directly said what you believe the life, even if you've never directly said what you believe the meaning of life is, the choices you make in your life reveal what you think that answer is. Which leads me to how I even came across the question to begin with. Um, I remember I first started asking myself this question when I had just turned 18. You know, I just entered a stage in my life where for the very first time I got to decide who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go, and how I wanted to do it. So I started asking myself all those questions, you know? Who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? How do I want to do it? Um the thing was though, every time I would have some kind of answer for one of those questions, I would instantly ask myself, okay, but why? Oh, I want to become this. Okay, but why? Oh, I want to go here. Okay, but why? Oh, ooh, I want to achieve this. Okay, but why? And I quickly realized I didn't actually have a real, like, genuine answer behind any of these desires. Every time I would try to figure out exactly why I wanted something, I couldn't give a good answer. I couldn't give a clear answer. It would always just end with some version of like, because I like it. It sounds cool. It looks cool. And nothing more. I never had anything beyond that. And now, you may be thinking to yourself, some of you may be thinking to yourself, well, there you go, man. That's your answer. Because you like it, because you think it's cool. It's that simple, dude. You know, what more reason do you need? Just do things because you like them, because you think they're cool. The thing is, though, deep down, I knew that a good life isn't good just because you you do things that you like, right? I knew that a good life is good because you do something meaningful. And I knew that meaning is tied to overcoming something. It's tied to some degree, struggle, not just like pleasure, not just feeling good, which then led me to ask, what does a meaningful life actually look like then? Which then led me to the bigger question of what's the meaning of life? And the thing was, at this point, I couldn't just ignore the question. Um, because I realized that the whatever answer I had for this question was going to be the foundation of every decision I was going to make for the rest of my life. Because if there is real, genuine meaning to life, right, then that means absolutely everything I do matters. There would be no such thing as a meaningless decision anymore. There would be no such thing as like a harmless lie. There would be no such thing as time that can be wasted. Everything would matter. My choices would matter. My time would matter. My all of my relationships would matter. My suffering would matter. What I would pursue matters. Whether I tell the truth matters. Whether I do what's right matters. Every single decision I would make every single day would genuinely matter. And if that's true, then I actually have like a real responsibility to figure out exactly what the meaning of life is and to live according to it. Because if I don't, then my decisions have no real foundation. There would be no real meaning behind anything I would do. Everything would just consist of like mindless decisions based on, I don't know, how I was feeling or what I preferred at that very moment, which changes all the time. The thing is though, at the exact same time I was pondering this specific question, I guess you could say, I also looked at the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I also wondered to myself if maybe there was no maybe life had no real meaning at all, actually. Maybe everything we thought mattered was just something we made up. Maybe life doesn't have any real objective meaning. And we just I guess we just get to decide for ourselves what we want it to mean, right? The thing is though, from that perspective, that would mean that there is no real meaning to life at all. Because because if meaning is something we just make up for ourselves, right? Then nothing actually matters in any real sense because we made it all up. Does that make sense? Everything would literally just come down to ultimately meaningless preferences. And so overall, the question became very serious for me. Like I said, this wasn't just some interesting thought experiment in my head anymore. The question was now the foundation of my entire life. Life either has real meaning behind it, which means everything I do actually matters, or life has no real meaning behind it, in which case, like, literally nothing I do matters. And whatever answer I accept will determine how the rest of my life would play out. So I needed to find an answer. I needed to figure out if the meaning of life was something real and objective that I could live by, or if it was just something we just made up. So I began looking, right? And as I started looking at the world, myself, my thoughts, my feelings, my ideas, my desires, nature, people, love, hate, justice, suffering, when I just looked at all of reality for what it was, I noticed some things. I remember thinking to myself, If there's no real meaning to life, why am I even asking the question to begin with? If all of this is just random, right? If human beings are nothing more than atoms, molecules, survival instincts, and chemical reactions, then why the hell am I even sitting here thinking about something like the meaning of life? Wouldn't I just be wouldn't I just be living? Wouldn't I just be existing? Like a normal animal would? Why would I even consider there being anything beyond just mere survival? Why do I even care whether my life has meaning at all? I'm alive, aren't I? I'm surviving, right? If I'm surviving, I've completed the mission according to a purely um evolutionary view of reality, right? And then I started to think about survival, because if I reduced life down to just survival and evolution, then the whole point is just survive, reproduce, pass on your genes, and just keep the species going, essentially, right? Survival of the fittest, as they say. But survival for what? Wanting to survive implies that there's something worth surviving for. Wanting to live implies that there's something to live for, which made me think, what is it about life that makes it worth surviving for? What are we actually trying to live for? And not only that, when I just looked at my own life and the things I did, why wasn't like just why wasn't basic living and just basic pleasure enough to satisfy me? I enjoy working out. I enjoy video games. I enjoy eating food. I enjoy spending time with friends and family. I enjoy all kinds of just basic activities, just like the rest of you. But I kept wondering to myself, you know, why was none of it enough to satisfy me, to make me feel complete? Why did I constantly seek something more in life? Why do we all seek something deeper than just comfort, pleasure, and survival? Why are these basic things just not enough? If the point of existence was just survival, then once our basic needs are met, we technically shouldn't be worrying about anything more than that, right? But we do. And the more I noticed that, the harder it became for me to believe that life was just, I don't know, the meaning of life was just something we made up. Looking at the evidence, it started to look like there was a real objective point to all of this. And that's actually a big reason why I'm making this channel, because I, with my whole heart, I believe there is real objective meaning to life. I don't believe that we're just random accidents. I don't believe that we're just clumps of atoms, right? Floating through existence for no real reason. I believe there's a real reason behind why we're all here. I believe there's a real reason why our life matters, why our choices matter, why good and evil are real. I believe there is a real reason why suffering doesn't have to be meaningless. I I believe that meaning is something we can actually search for, understand, and live in alignment with. It's not completely hidden from us. And that's what I want this channel to be about. Not because I have everything figured out, right? Not because I think, I don't know, I'm better than anyone, not because I think I can answer every single question perfectly. I can't, right? And I'm not afraid to admit that either. I know I'm finite. I know I'm fallible, but I also know what it feels like to be haunted by these questions. I know what it feels like to, you know, look up at the sky and think to yourself, there has to be more to this. There has to be something deeper going on here. I don't think I'm the only person who feels or thinks that. And so my goal with this channel is very simple. I want to explore and explain in the best way I know how why your life actually matters. Why your choices actually matter, why your suffering can have meaning, why truth matters, why good and evil actually matter and are real concepts, why basically why the meaning of life is not just some made up like fairy tale bullshit, right? It's not something we just make up for ourselves. The meaning of life is something objective, real, impossible for us to find and live in alignment with. And I want to talk about these things as honestly and as clearly and as simply as I can, using reason, using logic, using real life experience, right? Not some like just boring, just philosophical, bullshit. Like, I want to talk about these things like a real human being, right? And I don't want this channel to just be another source of mindless entertainment. I don't want to help people stay distracted. I want to help people I guess like wake up. I want to help people take their lives seriously. I want to give people what I wish someone had given me years ago, back when I just turned 18 years old. I want to give people a reason to not just believe, but know that their life has real objective meaning. And a real reason why they should start living as if that's true. Because it is true. So I guess if I had to leave you guys, with one thing after watching this video, it'd be this. The meaning of life the meaning of life is not just some question for philosophers or religious people or people having an existential crisis, right? Um it's actually the foundation of your entire life and every decision you make, even if you don't have a clear answer for it yet. Because like I said earlier, whether you realize it or not, you're already answering the question by the way you live. Everything you chase, everything you avoid, everything you give your time to, sacrifice for, tolerate, love, worship, everything, right? Even if you've never said out loud directly what you believe the meaning of life is, every single action you take shows what you believe it is, loud and clear. And maybe that's an uncomfortable thing to think about for some of you. And in all honesty, it should be. It's not a joke. Because if life has real objective meaning, then this question matters more than anything else we could possibly ask. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying you need to have everything perfectly figured out, right? The perfect answer to all of this before you can start I don't know, living right. You know what I mean? I'm still figuring it out. But I do think we need to not act like this question is just some interesting thought experiment or some deep philosophical question. And we need to start really considering it and treating it like it really matters, because it does. Your life matters. Your choices matter. Your suffering matters. What you decide to do with your time matters. And if the meaning of life is real, then it can be found and it can be lived. And overall, that's what I hope to help you all with finding as best as I can. That's what this channel is going to be for. To give, to serve, to just help where I can. That's it. Take care.